when Christian Toto and Deborah Flora and I are talking off air during the commercial breaks, but wow, did we just have one of those with our next guest, Trisha Calvarese. Calvarese, got to do the hand. There it is.
There you go.
And you can find out more about her at Trisha, 4, Colorado.com. She is running again in the 4th Congressional District. One time, the seat held by Representative Ken Buck, now held by Representative Lauren Boebert. And Trisha, I always give you credit. You're one of the few Democrats that are not only willing to come on this program, here you are, live in studio. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much. Happy Halloween to you.
So where do you want to start?
I mean, I think we can start with the truth. And just kind of listening to your last guest, this is something that Democrats, it's a gut check moment. And if you can't say the government lied to us, that they lied to us about President Biden's health, then you're part of the problem. So that's the truth I'm speaking. You know, it was really hard to run as a Democrat. And still, even then, I overperformed the top of the ticket by 6 points. But so now it is gut check time for the Democrats. We have to define ourselves. What are we? What do we stand for? I am running on an unapologetic economic populist agenda. And I'm going to call out this last administration for the lies they told us. About President Biden's health, absolutely.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because you remind me a lot of the old school, traditional union Democrats that I grew up with in the state of Michigan, UAW and otherwise. But this is from The Daily Show, Charlemagne the God, ripping Dems, and he's in a unique position to be able to do this because they were lockstep, vote blue no matter who, but that also included Joe Biden, and they didn't think to question. And if you were a Democrat and you wanted to win, this was always my point, then you got to get him out of there and get somebody in there and give them enough time to be able to ramp up and actually contend and compete against a very formidable opponent in Donald J. Trump. So here's Charlemagne and what he had to say about a lot of the Dems. You're going to hear some familiar voices here sticking with Joe Biden.
That's not the kind of leadership we're looking for, okay? These are the same Democratic leaders that shove their candidates down our throats and say we have to support them because it's vote blue no matter who. Hell, you did it after Joe Biden the bed in the debate.
President Biden, as I've said repeatedly, is our nominee. He has a tremendous track record of success.
President Biden is our nominee. The voters have spoken.
I'm all in, no daylight.
As I've said before, I'm with Joe. As I've said before, I'm with Joe. As I've said before, I'm with Joe.
You're riding with Biden. You're riding with Biden.
Did anyone mention Harris?
You're riding with Biden.
See? That was Charlemagne the God. You had many familiar voices there, including Jim Clyburn, who was instrumental in Joe Biden getting the nomination in the first place, turning around the vote in South Carolina when it looked like Bernie Sanders might be coasting to the nomination himself. So, Trisha, you come at this from a very different angle as a traditional, maybe moderate Democrat. There were warning signs. You saw them. You didn't deny them. At what point did you think, if you can remember on the calendar, I don't know that Joe Biden's our best bet, our best option going forward, even though he's the incumbent president of the United States?
During the debate. I mean, that debate, it was so clear. And the fact that they debated so early, I think that, maybe there were some staffers trying to help the public see what they already knew.
Interesting.
But it's so tough with the top of the ticket. I'm looking forward to not having to run with that this time, though. I'll tell you that. I overperformed the top as well as down ballot races. So it's a fairer fight this time.
So this leads me to the other end of the spectrum because it seems like the Democrats are in a tough spot here. And you're a part of a party right now that is, I think, suffering from a bit of an identity crisis, meaning Charlemagne also in this particular set of bites talks about the candidacy of Zoran Mamdani, the Democratic Socialist running for mayor of New York City, and he's very likely to win next Tuesday. But then you have certain politicians, Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader in the House, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, that are really having a tough time wrapping their head around, do I endorse Zoran Mamdani? Do I distance myself and alienate this far-left base that has more energy, that has the squad like AOC and Rashida Tlaib? Where do you come down on that? What do you make of this Zoran Mamdani phenomenon? And I would call it a cult of personality.
Okay, I'm going to be completely honest. I am not paying attention to New York at all. But I am laser focused on my district and the people I'm trying to represent. And I almost wish we were in a post-partisan era, frankly. I'm running as a Democrat because I became a Democrat. I've been consistent. But for me, the type of Democrat that I want to be is one where I can bring the people I have met on the trail who maybe don't agree with me on everything, but that they can respect the economic populist values that I'm running for. I'm running for America's middle class. I want to break up the big ag, big pharma, big medicine, big tech that are holding down the little guy, that are hurting the middle class. And I had the absolute honor of meeting Hannah Goodman. She's Colorado chair of the Libertarian Party.
Right.
She just flipped her party to Democrat, and she credited me. And that's because we met for a debate last year at a dance hall saloon at the Grizzly Rose, debated, squared off, had an amazing conversation, and understanding her perspective, I have carried that with me on the trail, right? And my parents were Republican. My mom loved Donald Trump, was super MAGA. I would want to make them proud. I would want to be a Democrat that they could vote for. So running on those values, running on those ideals, the fact that I'm talking about farming, I'm talking about the food crisis of what our local producers need, our local cattlemen and women, about the meatpacking monopoly that's absolutely crushing our local ag. Hannah saw that and organically flipped parties. So we're built. This is the type of coalition that I'm really excited about. She's a millennial. I'm a millennial. It's kind of a new political realignment, and stay tuned because it's very exciting.
For me, and again, Trisha Calvarese, our guest here, Democrat candidate in the 4th Congressional District. Trisha, the number 4, Colorado.com. You can find out more. For me, I would love to sit down and have drinks with you and John Fetterman, because these are the types of Democrats I remember that we can get along, we can have a good time, we're not mortal enemies, it's not life or death when it comes to politics, but we feel very passionate about policy. And one of those issues that John Fetterman is strong on, and I believe you are as well, and Anna Garza we talked about, who is running communications for Greg Lopez, the former congressman in the interim term there, filling out for Ken Buck, and he's running for governor this time around. But you touched on something that I think, again, strikes a chord across partisan lines: border security, the trafficking of illegal aliens in our nation, specifically women and children. And this is what really gets me. Again, as somebody that had a lot of sympathies with labor in the past and working in unions and American workers, that there are companies, meatpacking companies, there was news about this in the upper Midwest and the Plains, NBC News reporting on it not that long ago, where a meatpacking plant was busted for hiring illegal aliens, paying them cut wages, and when they were called out on it, the guy running the plant goes, well, there's no roadmap for this. Well, then why were you hiring illegal aliens at cut wages, which abuses those people, too, that are in our country illegally, and you're taking advantage. You're cutting corners. You're undermining the American worker. What is your take on all that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I'll say there were bipartisan bills on securing the border. Even in this Congress, Lauren Boebert didn't even show up to vote for them. Okay, there were 3 of them on basic things like closing the tunnels, giving our border security the technology they need to make sure that human trafficking isn't happening. Bipartisan, they passed. Boebert didn't even get her butt there to show up and vote. So that's at least one thing I'll do. I agree with you. We don't want a race to the bottom. If you have to compete against exploited labor, that doesn't benefit anybody. Right. And there's children in our meatpacking facilities. That is unconscionable. That is unacceptable. We need pathways, clear pathways, and judges to make sure that we're following the law, right, for the people who have been here for a very long time. Our migrant workers are an important part of our economy, but it needs to work for everybody. And right now it's not. The system is completely broken. But on the topic of human trafficking, I am not hearing anybody talk about this. And it is a tremendous crisis, especially with the technology we have. It's happening online. So you mentioned Anna. She invited me to the inaugural Digital Safety Summit hosted by Exodus Road. I was the only candidate or politician who showed up, which is, I thought was shocking. And learned a lot, but one very disturbing piece: 1 in 5 kids gets lured into sending explicit images online, and then they become threatened and blackmailed. And I had the honor of meeting South Carolina State Rep Brandon Guffey, who told the story of his own family. And his son Gavin had been sexploited by scammers in Nigeria and ultimately took his own life. So, and I know this is uncomfortable for some folks, but the silence enables it. The shame, and it creates a shame that enables this crisis. So Gavin's law makes it a crime in South Carolina to extort a minor. I will work with anybody to pass that on the federal level. And then more than that, we got to hold big tech accountable for a business model that profits from the exploitation of children.
Trisha Calvarese, Democrat running in the 4th Congressional District, likely to go heads up with Lauren Boebert this next time around in 2026. Another issue along these lines, and we were just talking about this during the previous break, it really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and I'm talking about ranchers, one of whom's a dear friend of mine, Derek Lechka, here in Colorado, was Marlon Reese, the first gentleman, the husband of Jared Polis, trying to stage a meat out day and really rubbing the noses in it of those ranchers that supply our food, that put it on our tables, et cetera, and especially here in the state of Colorado where the industry, Trisha, as you know, is so big. And Governor Polis tried to dance on the head of the pin with that. But another thing that's affecting our farmers and ranchers that we discussed that was kind of maybe well-intentioned at first, the reintroduction of wolves, okay, where they were once endangered, now we're bringing them back, having a devastating effect on our farmers and ranchers. What would be your approach to the presence of wolves in the state of Colorado, the reintroduction of that was passed? What should we do about that?
Yeah, I don't think we need them, but even to zoom out a little bit, I think we really are looking at the collapse of the food system. Colorado has lost more farmland than any other state in the country, okay? We are the second largest economic driver for our state. I cannot believe that it is legal for foreign entities to buy American farmland. We need to make that illegal. We need to make Acre Trader illegal. Have you heard of that?
Yep.
It's a workaround. So it's an app that bundles and sells American farmland to hedge funds to foreign entities. Okay. Once we lose that farmland, it's gone. Food isn't optional. We need to get rid of the death or estate tax to keep farms in families, to keep them farming. And as far as our cattlemen and women go, they feed America. I talk to these folks, I get it. I understand why they feel so disrespected. Food isn't optional. Where do you think your food comes from? It comes from these middle-class farmers, family farmers who put in a boatload of work. And for cattle, it's a 10 to 12-year cycle. So it's rough for a long time. And right now, this is where they're getting to profit. Let them profit from it. A huge problem is there is a monopoly in meat packing. There are 4 companies, Cargill, JBS, Tyson, Marfrig, that are 80 to 85% of all cattle slaughter in the U.S. 2 are foreign owned. And we only have 2 of those in Colorado. That's a duopoly. We have to cut federal red tape, make it local, make it so you can sell meat locally across state lines. We border 5 states in Colorado 4. Create local economies, help our small farmers and ranchers.
I've got a difficult question for you based on the answers you've just given me, and she's given me that look.
Okay.
But the disaffected people, the forgotten men and women, you've touched on it, but what I'm talking to with my roots in the upper Midwest, why states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, my home state of Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa have all moved to the right politically, at least when it comes to presidential elections, is this perception, and I think it's based in reality, that the Democratic Party has become a party of kind of coastal liberal elites that look down on people like us, including here in Colorado, I might add, unless you're talking about the ski towns that they like to go to, but certainly the cattle ranchers and certainly the farmers, and that is the story in the upper Midwest as well. My question, based on a lot of texts that we're getting about you, is why you feel it's better for you to try to fight that fight for the working man and woman within the Democratic Party rather than maybe becoming a moderate Republican and kind of pushing those agendas within a Republican Party. What makes you a Democrat and not a Republican?
Because I made that decision when I was 16, and I like to be consistent. I think that moving the Democratic Party is important for our entire country, right? Where we gotta claim that heart and soul back. You call me whatever you want to call me, okay? But exactly that old school Democrat, we need pathways to those amazing jobs starting in high school. The trades have so much dignity in them to be able to have a job, right out of high school, to serve your community, the dignity of work. I absolutely believe in that. And you know what? Colorado, we don't have a traditional four-year college or university. We have amazing community colleges, but I can absolutely understand where people feel that sense of elitism from the Democrats. And that's where I'm excited to work with Hannah. We're bringing it back Truman style. We're some old school Democrats.
Yeah, we got comments here on Kennedy Democrats, too. I think you would fit that mold as well. So about a minute left here. Trisha Calvarese, our guest in studio. Trisha, the number 4, Colorado.com, her website. You can find out more. What would you say is the biggest area of daylight between you and Representative Lauren Boebert? Because when I ask her about you, her typical response is, who?
Oh, well, okay, that's fair enough. I mean, We're both millennials. I'll give you that.
That's
I think
true.
we were born the same week that I was born at Rose Hospital. I think she was born in Florida somewhere.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm going to take on big tech. This is also there is a bubble in the economy that is waiting to happen. I'm not bought either. I'm not beholden to anyone. And the party, frankly, I didn't get any help from the National Democratic Party. I did not. So I'm a free agent. I'm running to represent the people. I'm beholden to them.
She is a free agent. You can find out more at her website, Trisha, 4colorado.com. Tell the people where you're going to be next. You got 30 seconds here, Trisha, and where they can find you.
Okay, please join us for a food drive we're going to be doing on the 8th right outside of Highlands Ranch. That's thanks to Caplis. That was a great idea. So we're going to be doing a food canvas.
Listen to you following up on the good advice.
Great advice.
Of Dan Caplis with the food banks there. Trisha, thank you so much for being here today. Always appreciate your time.
Hey, and thanks for having me. That's conversations like this.
I know what we need more of them.
We do.
Not fewer. And Trisha, again, to her credit, one of the few that is willing to come in here, have those conversations, and talk to good listeners like you. A timeout. Miranda Devine joins us next to talk about her interview with J.D. Vance.